This is Back to Back.
Yo, what's up, Back-to-Backers? This is Willy Joy. Welcome to the show. This is Back to Back. This is my podcast. How we doing this week? How's everybody feeling? How was your weekend? I was up in New York City. I just got back into town. I played a crazy show on Saturday night out in Brooklyn. Came in a couple days early, recorded some podcasts with some future guests that you will find out very soon. But today is all about GRiZ. GRiZ is my guest. Was so happy to get him on the show. He's exactly the kind of guest I love to have here. And yeah, this one was fun. GRiZ has a new album out right now called Ride Waves. It's a great album. It features people like Snoop Dogg, Wiz Khalifa, Drum, Modest Yahoo, Bootsy Collins. The list goes on. Basically, every weed-associated celebrity in the known universe. And it's a great album. If you're going to be out at Bonnaroo this weekend, he's going to be out there, and he's actually leading the Super Jam that they do out there. You know, each year a different big musician sort of organizes this jam with a bunch of different people. GRiZ is doing that this year, so definitely check him out there if you're going to be at Bonnaroo. Also, if you're out by Denver, he's doing 2 sold-out nights at Red Rocks in August. I mean, I guess they're sold out, so if you don't have tickets now, I don't know, hit up StubHub, hit up Craigslist. But yeah, 5 years in a row, he's sold out Red Rocks 2 days in a row. And as you might know, June is Pride Month, and this year, GRiZ is the face of MeUndies Pride collection. I actually just ran into the Pride Parade in New York. So much fun. And if you're out in LA, GRiZ is also going to be playing an LA Pride party in support of the It Gets Better Project, which is a nonprofit organization that helps uplift, empower, and connect LGBTQ youth around the globe. So as you can tell, he's bouncing all over the country. Busy guy. And we talked about all this in the conversation you're about to hear. We'll get to GRiZ in just a second. We are brought to you today by my friends over at Serato. You've heard me talk about Serato on this show before. Serato is the premier software company for DJs and producers alike. And today I want to talk to you about Serato DJ Pro. That's a piece of software I was using, 2 days ago to get ready for my show in New York. And you know, this is the piece of software that made Serato famous. This is what all of your favorite DJs are using to play their shows. And I don't really know where my career would have gone if it weren't for Serato DJ Pro. I've been using it for over 10 years. It's rock solid, reliable, so easy to use. It's just like second nature at this point. And there's so many different ways you can use it to perform. No matter what kind of music you play, what kind of DJ you are, what your style is, your personal vibe. And they have dedicated customer support. That means they're always there to help. If you ever have a question, it's really easy to get in touch, to reach out. They're happy to help. That's what they're there for. So go check them out. Serato DJ Pro is available at Serato.com, along with all of their other software for DJs and producers. Go check them out. Can't recommend them highly enough. That's www.Serato.com. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to this show on whatever platform you're using to listen. If you're just new, if you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome. It's great to have you. Don't forget to scroll back in the feed too and check out some of the older episodes. I've been getting some people saying, hey, why don't you have X artist on your show? And then I have to turn around and say, oh yeah, they were already on the show. It just happened a couple months ago before you started listening. So don't be that person. Check out all of the older episodes. There's some really great ones in there. And if you really like what you're hearing, if you really like what we're doing over here at Back to Back, the best way you can support this show, the best way you can help me out is just spread the word. Just let a friend know you're listening to the show, somebody else who loves music as much as you do. And if you make a post, if you tag us in your story, put up a tweet, whatever it is, I'm always going to be reposting, replying, interacting with you. That's really my favorite part, is meeting everybody out there who's listening, talking to you guys, and helping to build that community. I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago, we're working on some ideas to, really formalize this community, bring people together in a bigger way. That is still being worked on, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you can always reach out to me. backtobackpod@gmail.com is the email address, or you can hit me up at Willy Joy or at backtobackpod on all social media. All right, so let's get into this chat with GRiZ. I met up with him in Philadelphia, and we had this talk in this gorgeous, giant, almost like a cathedral-looking theater where he was playing that night. We had never met before, but, this was one of those conversations where we just found the groove right away, got right into it. We were speaking the same language. I have a lot of respect for what he's built. The whole GRiZ empire is just really impressive, and there's just no one else really doing it like he's doing it. And we talk about that, his kind of outsider status, the way he built his own world, how he's able to combine the sort of party vibes with the more socially conscious messages, and just front to back, this one was a pleasure. So let's get into it right now. This is me and GRiZ, back to back. Let's go.
Oh, dude, no sweat. Last night was definitely a send for us, that's for sure.
Really?
I mean, we used to tour kind of like more like way drunker all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And last night was the first night on tour that I drank.
Oh yeah.
And it it used to be like a every single night we brought CDJs, 2 monitors, a sub,
Yeah.
and a little table. So we'd be like, whoever of the fans, we hit up fans and be like, whoever wants to host a GRiZ after party.
Right, you'd actually bring specific after party gear.
We would bring the goddamn party, like the speakers, the sub, the CDJs. And that's actually how I learned how to DJ, was at people's houses at after parties on the GRiZ
really?
tour. Yeah.
So what were the early performances then if you weren't doing any DJ activity?
So it was Ableton DJ.
Oh yeah, sure.
like the computer controllerism kind of situation where it's customizable MIDI mapping and the whole 9 yards, right? And I was hanging with Skrilla's old tour manager, this guy Sam Krause. And
wait, Skrause?
Yeah, Skrause.
Oh man, because he used to do the Floss guys.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I got to know him pretty well in those days. I love that guy.
How great is Sam? Man?
He's the best. Are you in touch with him? What's he doing
currently?
now?
No, I'm not. I haven't seen him.
I don't know what he's up to.
A few years. I don't know that he's still in the touring music space.
Yeah, I don't know. Sam, if you hear this, hit us up, man.
Yeah, Sam, miss you, bro. So he introed me. So I bought CDJs and I was like, this is something that I want to do. And I would just want to have this tool in my repertoire because I was seeing a lot of friends that I couldn't connect with them on a musical level because I was kind of stuck in my own box.
Yeah.
Which is cool because that box is such a great tool set for music production. And, the Ableton world is so kind of infinitely imaginative.
Absolutely. And it's funny because, Ableton is one of the biggest pieces of production software that people in electronic music use now.
For sure.
But it's called Ableton Live. It was meant to be a live tool when they conceptualized it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that it's Ableton bedroom production now. That's what they should change their title
100%.
to. And man, I mean, that's been my life forever. I finally built a studio. So I bought this house in Denver, converted the garage and the 2-car garage into a fully sound treated studio space.
That's my dream, man.
Dude, and after years and years of just bedroom producer mentality, I just I kind of took the same sentiments and charm of the bedroom production thing was like, here's a normal table, because I don't really like the studio desks with like a console. Like I don't really need all those channels because it's all digital at this point. Which makes it convenient, and the algorithms are getting better and better, like math.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, like speakers can do self-tuning to a certain extent. Now it's kind of wild.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
No, I love it too. I mean, there's that meme of, the EDM producer walking into like the biggest studio in the world and just plopping their laptop down on top of the $100,000 console.
I can't tell you how many studios I've been in across America where I am literally that guy. I'm like, do you guys have a piece of cardboard?
Yeah.
The thing is, at this point, they're like studio engineers are so familiar with that, and which is nice for me, so that I don't have to feel like such a black sheep. But also, like I totally feel like kind of for lack of a better term, I could just kind of feel like ignorant, like walking in and being like, "Hey, man, can I set up like my Apollo Twin Duo and like my like Ableton, and then I'll just record off of like my plugins I have on my computer, I've got the Ableton stock limiter. That thing's pretty good, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting for you because you kind of occupy that in-between space though, right? Because I have to imagine, say you're recording your new album, there's plenty of live instrumentation.
Right.
I'm sure you spent plenty of time in real studios with real people recording those parts. Is that something you were ever trained in? Like actual, live recording?
Trial by fire, man.
Yeah.
And I think that this album is a great progression into what I've been working up to. And I think everything else after that will just be a continuation of like, really like albums for me are just like little like progress reports of like learning,
So you're just kind of like, okay, this is what I learned this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Like these are all the things I know now. Like check back in 2 years, I'll have a new.
It's like your final exam.
Yeah, exactly. I've been studying all year. But yeah, man, I mean, there's just experimentations into learning new things and throwing new ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks,
Right. And I mean, at this point, you're touring with essentially a full band, right?
Yeah.
When did that start? Because you've always gone out with a group, right? Has it kind of just grown over the years?
I think this tour was something that, we did like the GRiZ live band. So that's like a 15-piece, no backing track situation. The ethos for this tour was like, how can I create a performance out of this like collection of music rather than like me needing to be a DJ mixing tracks. So it wasn't so much about like, I want to be involved with like track selection. It's like, well, I know what I'm going to play. I just made this album.
Yeah.
So I was like, what can I do to get myself involved with it? And how can I highlight my favorite, or just like, how can I highlight, parts of the songs and elevate them with the performance. So it was like, well, I am contributing vocals to a few tracks on this, so I'll probably vocally deliver those live. I can play some of the guitar parts off some of the newer songs. That will be fun. I'm definitely playing saxophone. I've been having this guitar play around, but then beyond that, it's like, I've got MCs on so many of the songs, and like I really I have a tough time playing tunes that have like a rapper on them and just like having the rap play and just kind of like standing there like dancing.
Right.
Sometimes I think it's cool, and like I feel like the vocal is so rich within the production that it kind of like necessitates that like here we're just like watching the cool visuals and we're just like here's like the dance.
It's almost
moment.
like another instrument in a way.
Yeah, it's not necessarily about that performance aspect, but I'm like, man, I'd love to have a vocalist like deliver this, and that, like that, adding another human component. So now we have Prob Caused being a vocalist and MC on this tour.
Yeah, he's great,
dude. And yeah, man, he's so on point. It's fantastic. Like having him at rehearsals, I was like, okay, cool. So everything already. Like that's a box checked. And then I've always worked with horns, and that's definitely like the meat and potatoes of the GRiZ vibe. Is like, here's a build, and then huge glorious horn moment, some groovy moment. And so having Jesse and Jeremy trumpet and trombone respectively on this tour has been so cool. And then Chris Shira, our vocalist, our lead vocalist, and throwing her like parts in the album where I'm like, you know what, this is a male vocal, but let's see what you can do. And then having her rap some
Yeah.
stuff too. It's going to be, so I'm excited for people to continue to see that, because she does such a bang up job. And I really pushed her outside of her comfort zone, and she is just bodying this work, she's
Yeah.
bodying it. It's amazing to
Well,
see her.
and to me, that's really fun too, because in a record like your new record, obviously you just said there's a million different guest vocalists. You can't bring every single person out every
Right.
single night. But I like that. I just like to see when an artist almost reinterprets their own work. Right?
Yeah.
It's funny. I feel like there's a disconnect between the way a listener perceives an album and the artist's relationship to that album, right? Because you've worked on it for a year or more. The songs are almost old to you by the time they come out.
And cannibalizing them, Like I
Right.
listen to them on repeat before they come out,
Yeah, exactly. And then, so you can, in a way, it's like you're a step ahead. And if you can
Yeah.
take advantage of that perspective and say, okay, this is what I did a year ago when I made these songs, but now that I've sat with them and now I can see how people react to them.
Yeah.
How can I craft it? I think that's really cool, man.
There's definitely that balance of like, what can I do with the performance that's going to make me feel and continue to feel inspired and like this is fresh? Because you're right. It's like I've rinsed these tunes so many times, and it's not that I don't like them anymore. By
Right.
any means, I love this body of work. I think it's incredible and within my own standards. But like I definitely don't want it to feel like stale, and I'm like constantly working on new music. I probably have 2 to 3 new albums worth of music written
Oh, is
since
that
Ride
right?
Waves. Yeah,
Are you just the kind of guy who's just always writing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've already written a new song since this tour started with some of the people on this tour, and we're already on some other new music as well. Like we were in rehearsals, and like there's downtime, so I'm like producing a new beat while like rehearsals, like the production rehearsals are going on. I'm like, what else do I do with my time? Oh, make some music. This is cool. I'm in the space. I'm in the mode. And I find myself there very often. But the mediation point between like what is going to keep me inspired, then also like fans haven't even seen this tour yet. So I'm like, how can I make it fresh enough, but also familiar enough where it's like, oh, that's dope. And like, because like I want to like sing along with the song live, and like I want that melody, but also like I don't know, I kind of want the vocalist to like fit it to their style.
Sure, of
too.
course,
So,
right? Because I think especially in a live context, I mean, there has to be that collaboration with everyone who's on stage.
Absolutely.
Because if I put myself in the position of a fan at the show, that's what I want to see is people making those moments out of thin air.
Yeah,
right?
you want to feel the human spirit glowing, like I want to experience it. That's kind of why I go to a show, is like, one, I want to hear the music super loud and
Yeah.
feel bass and like go nuts. And I want it to just radiate this pure human energy. And I kind of can't get that out of performers if I'm just telling them to kind of like robotically like regurgitate exactly what is on the record. I want them to make it theirs.
Right. And so in that spirit, what's what was the writing process for the album like? Are you writing, every single horn part? Are
Right.
you bringing in people and saying, what do you think about this section?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely those bits of like collaborative moments where, the more this thing goes, the more ears it reaches, the more that there's like there's just opinions that float around, and then you kind of like start second guessing yourself because you're like, well, I feel like so many people are judging this, so it's got to be like really high quality, right?
Yeah.
But then there's that moment of trust where like, you know what? Like I'm going to trust me. I'm going to trust my ear and the things that I like that make me genuinely me, the things that I like, and I'm going to go with that. So within that parameter, I'm going to work with people that my heart feels safe in the same room creatively with. Like I can kind of like let them shine and give them shine, but also like try and dictate and mold the way that the session is going to go, because at the end of the day, like I want this to be representative of my emotional like quality about the thing. So a lot of the songs that are, I would say the majority of the songs that are on the record with featured vocalists are my writing and like my top lines and my melodies that I give them to then sing.
Right.
But there are there were a few sessions where I had fun because in the latter case, it's me writing my story and then having somebody else vocalize it. But there were a few cases like Mercy with Valentina. She had this hook, so we started there, and then the verses kind of like didn't really apply. So we started with her hook, like "I'll show you mercy when you're begging for my sound," and then I was like, "All right, so what is this about to you?" And then writing the verses with her and writing the pre with her in the context of her story was something that I've never really done before. It was like writing a piece of fiction. And because everything felt like autobiographical on like the album, I'm like, this is really about me and my own struggles and the things I'm dealing with. But the interesting thing was like when I was writing this with her, for her, through her, channeling it through her, it really did feel like there was, and I just don't think you can escape it. It's like no matter where you go, there you are. You know? Like I can't. There's no running away from yourself. You know. So like I'm stuck with me. And it did feel like there is like, I'm like, wow, I'm writing this about her, but it really does feel like a relatable, like familiar story.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, those, I think those times when you can sort of see yourself reflected in somebody else and somebody else's story. And I think just as humans, anytime you hear somebody else's history, you sort of subconsciously try to relate your own life to it. See,
that's the brilliance of it all, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you get that like relatability feeling. And I feel like maybe it's leading me to believe that we're all like, and this sounds like so cliche, but it's like we're all a lot more alike than we think, like we are by nature like human beings that all have these kind of like basery emotional qualities, like we all feel anxiety and we all feel love. We all feel fear and we all feel strength and pride and happiness, peace, sadness, all of the things. They're represented differently and they represent in our lives and through different human experiences. And it's like, no matter how you really describe it, it's like I did this thing. You start using like proper nouns, like in Philadelphia did the blank, It's not so much like it's like about, like the place exactly. It's just that like, in that city where I did the thing, it makes me feel this way. And then, that's then the relatability factor of it is like, like it is just the human condition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's another sort of classic 2019 thing is that if you look at the way people communicate online, right? Everyone's so much more extreme and to a certain extent more cruel and kind of just more detached, right?
So savage.
But then anytime, like, I don't know, you think about a Twitter troll or something like that, anytime you would actually see that person in real life, it would be almost immediately diffused just because you're standing in front of another person and there's that connection. I mean, it's funny to me, while you were talking, I was thinking about, and I've talked about this on the show before, like for me, music has always been a way, and especially when I was a kid, to connect with people. And I didn't always feel like I could connect with people, especially when I was younger. I was shy, I was reserved and awkward, and music just helped with all of that. And, I kind of still do it. And it makes me wonder, for you, like you're talking pretty eloquently, like well thought out about, what this music is doing for you, what you're trying to communicate. Have you always been that way? Like if you think about, when you were, we're talking about the most recent album.
Sure.
Let's talk about the first album. Like
okay.
When you're writing that, was that more of kind of just a young, exciting, I love music, I want to make stuff kind of moment?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. That the inspiration maybe at the start of it was like, I don't know. I didn't have so much of an opinion about shit, maybe, or I definitely did. I like somebody showed me, shared with me a link to my 2013 and 2014 Snapchat story. Somehow it's all on YouTube. Please don't watch it. Don't.
I hope mine isn't.
I don't know how they even did it because of those things that get deleted. I get, but anyway, so many download, and I'm like, damn, I feel like a very different person from then till now. And personal growth definitely happens, and people do change.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, but maybe in the past, I started writing music when I was 14 and a half, and I'm 28 now, and writing music back then to me was like, how can I outdo Aphex Twin in his own game? You know, like
You were like kind of competitive back then?
yeah, it was like, it was like good luck, but I
Right.
thought it was like the more complicated and intense a song
I
is,
see
like,
what you're saying.
like the better that it gets. And
Right.
like my friend Freddie Todd and I started making music at the exact same time and place. And it was just this fun, like, it wasn't like a competition, but it was like a friendly, like, experimentation process of like trying to like use a snare roll to make it like a melody line.
Sure,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Just like how crazy, where does this end? You know, like how far can we push these machines?
And this was in Detroit back then?
This is in Detroit back then,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
But you know, maybe back then for me, it was just like, let's just go for it. And I didn't feel like I really had like a formed voice about what music was trying to communicate with other people. It wasn't really about, because there weren't fans, really,
Right.
you know? I mean, I was like trying to convince my friends that anything that I was doing was like had a mild semblance of
Just worthiness?
yeah. like you could even like swallow this like body of work because it's just so like disorganized and just like, what is this horrible sound?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's cool, right? Everyone's like, yeah, sure, dude.
Yeah.
like, all right, when does this track ends?
Yeah.
But you know, and now like things are definitely very different. I find myself in different situations, and I find that just by writing music and traveling and talking and connecting with people, I've grown more concerned about different things, and majorly I've been able to tap into the way I feel about myself more, and like giving myself a chance to reconnect with my inner voice, and using music as a way to create a sense of catharsis and a sense of healing and a sense of celebration, like a way to just and it's just human expression. And it's like, how can I express myself? And right now, like, I'm like loving using words and writing and thinking about things like in the poetic sense of the art form. And that was like, you know, this album was that. And there's definitely like market opinions and things of that nature on it. So
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, man, you know, because to hear you talk about the connection you have with people who listen to your music and what you'd like it to be for them, or the experience you'd like to provide for them, was that something that over time making music provided to you? Like if we were talking about the start, it was more about just sort of technical like experimentation, what's possible, up until now when it's honed into, you know, a concept and you're communicating clear, you know, ideas and connecting with people. Over that period of time, was music kind of able to help you deal with those kinds of issues in your life, as far as, you know, anxiety, communication, connection, all that kind of thing?
Absolutely. I mean, I consume my music a lot because I write music that I want to hear. I was given this in this blessing to be able to understand music without really needing to study it. Like is that
right?
Yeah, it just like clicks
even
in my head.
Even as a kid?
So I was in the band, and like I can read sheet music and all that. But when I was very young, I heard notes in my head, and I could just put them together because it just melodically things just made sense.
Yeah.
You know, I could hear a chord and be like, that works, or these things don't work. So like that doesn't fit with this puzzle.
Right.
You know.
And so you were playing the sax from early on, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was playing saxophone in 5th grade, and then before that, I was playing piano, and I was taking a few lessons with that. But the lessons were more so like the promise that my mom would let me do music if she was like, all right, well, if you do lessons, then you know, we can have the piano in the household. I'm like, all right, cool. Well, like, great. You know, she's like, she was always big into education, man. She's a teacher, you know.
Oh, okay. What did she teach?
She did English as a second language.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And what did your dad do?
He was in the automotive industry and retired, moved to Florida, and then completely just checked out of the face of the planet. And like my parents split when I was 11 and my mom got remarried. And I haven't talked to my dad in like a decade at this point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. It's just like,
so he was just out at a certain point, out of your life.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like life takes you on, I know that life takes you on so many different journeys. And there's a point of maturity that I reached where it was like, I understand that now the choices that I make in my life are their choices, you know, like the situations I find myself in, where I'm at, that was a personal choice, and I need to make healthy choices for myself. And certain experiences that I've had, like my relationship with my father, it was at the point, it was a mature moment to be like, hey, I can't have a toxic relationship in my life like this. Like, I need to be doing things that lift my spirit up, that like that help support me, that help like push me into a more creative and a more like self-exploratory space instead of a negative one. And then now recently I'm thinking that like now that I've got a better headspace, I'm like I think the more responsible thing is to like work on relationships and be able to come to like a point of understanding with people that like you feel like have done you wrong or have dismissed you or have treated you in a negative way.
Sure.
And it's not like I'm doing it because I need to gain some satisfaction of like being the bigger person.
Right.
It's like everybody deserves a chance for peace.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think this is very cliche to say too, but obviously closure on this kind of stuff is so important.
Definitely.
And it's funny because I think people look at it sometimes as, I have to fix this relationship. We have to, and I'm not talking about you and your dad, but just in general,
right.
Like we have to get it back to where it was. We have to repair everything. And
right.
it's not really about that. But I think for anyone in that kind of relationship to move on and just live a happy life, it's important you kind of just reach that understanding.
Yeah, let's move through it.
Right.
Like I want to move through these things, and I don't want to just like sweep things under the rug or hide from it. Like I want progression in my life. I want like wholesomeness. I want peace. I want balance, and if these things take practice, like with anything with music, like if I want to get better at what I do, if I want to reach in like a new echelon of a thing,
right.
I got to work through it. It's not going to be easy,
of course.
But the pain and the issue and creating like controversy and working through controversy, that brings joy and
absolutely.
Peace.
And if nothing else, even if it doesn't work out in the end, you learn so much.
Definitely.
You evolve. That's I think this is another standard. I don't know why we're talking about humanity so much right now, but I think this is another like just quality of every human being on earth is that all of us instinctively will shy away from, the harder path, the heavy work, the change, whatever it is. But the reality is the more we can embrace that, the better we become as people in general.
Those are wise words right there. And that's so important. And we all struggle with that. We struggle with conflict. And I don't think that there's necessarily like I don't think that should be framed as something that's negative. Like conflict is necessary and positive. And I don't think that we're all supposed to agree with each other.
Right.
And life is not about like agreeing with everybody. Life is about in my frame of things, I think that my life is about learning and growing as a student to the universe and because there's no final truth. There's just small truths along the way. That is the experience of the now, and that's that. And to bring this full circle, like for me, the Ride Waves was about understanding that coming to this understanding that life is an ephemeral. Now is now. It's not about later. It's not about yesterday. It's about what is going on right now in this moment. And that things come and go, I was like, what's a good analogy for that in my life? Like here I am meditating and I'm like on this path for like personal.
Oh, you do meditation?
Definitely. Yeah, man. I'm trying to slow down, not slow down, but I'm trying to be able to reframe the way that I think about thinking. Cause my thoughts, I kind of can't control them, and I don't really want to. I just want to be able to come to terms with thinking about whatever I need.
You want to be able to organize them a little bit.
Just like, I just observe. They're there. I might feel anxious right now. I might feel happy right now, and I can just observe, and then it'll pass. And then the next thing will happen, then it'll pass.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like happiness is like the big American requirement, because it's like the pursuit of happiness is kind of like the cornerstone of like the American dream kind of a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And it feels too ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
well, of course. I mean, to the idea of chasing happiness as a goal, happiness to me is the result of you sort of living a good life
definitely
in the rest of the ways.
It's one of the things,
It's not something you can force to happen.
No, man. It's like, it's with sadness. Like sadness will happen. Like happiness will happen. Like all of these things definitely will happen at some point. And as they come, then they'll go. Like it's the whole, I'm loving this, and I've been reading Eckhart Tolle, like I really love his work. Reading and listening to Deepak Chopra and some of his lectures, and this like dharmic, if something has the instance of a coming, it has the instance of a leaving, Nothing is permanent, if something arrives, it will depart.
Right.
All relationships, life, life, it arrives in this world, it will depart. It's same with the breath. And I was like, that is how I'm feeling about all this. And the album Ride Waves is about these emotions that rise and they leave, and creating a catharsis around the experience of those emotions. I was like, how can I make this into an analogy? And Ride Waves was my analogy for that.
Yeah, and I liked what you said too, that it's sort of a snapshot of what you were thinking and feeling at the time, which I think all the best albums kind of are that way. And on the album, I mean, it was interesting to me because, in this sort of general world of party dance music, that we more or less inhabit, you actually had a couple like fairly serious songs about serious issues on there. There's a song about gun control on there. I mean,
we like snuck that into like a pop UDM tune. I was like, hell yeah.
No,
Cool.
I mean, that's amazing, man.
Yeah.
It's something I wish I get it, because it's hard to tackle in the sense that, the kind of music, I'll just speak for myself, like the kind of music I do, it's about tension and release, and it's very primal and instinctual. Yeah. And, sometimes when you want to start talking about, say, something like gun control, that's hard to fit into that framework.
Yes.
So I'm kind of curious. I mean, you said you snuck it in.
Yeah.
What was writing that song like?
It kind of like, so I had this session with Matisyahu, and I was like, listening to discography, and it's not that like I wasn't like a study of Matisyahu. It's like, we all know it. If you don't know one day, it's like, come on. That was like
he's got hits.
That was like the hit. And so I was like, I really love that. I love him speaking as like a cultural leader, as somebody that has this like uplifting and positive attitude. And I was like, I really want to do a song with him that is like about like promoting peaceful stuff. And my platform is music, and that's how people are going to listen to me. And I'm going to fill that platform, not every single time, but at least a few times. I want to fill that platform with some personal inner voice that's like, I think that we should just not be shooting each other. Like that shit is not cool.
Yeah.
Like guns aren't cool. I don't think by any means a gun is cool. Like they are taboo and they look dangerous and they're sexy and they're framed in movies. The same thing with like smoking cigarettes, It's just like, if you frame it the right way, that shit looks cool, but it's not cool. Like violence is not cool.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying? And I can only say that so many times. And I'm like, maybe the best way to be able to do that is I can put Matisyahu and then through his oration,
right,
throw that in there.
Right.
And just write like a fun dance tune around it. So like, how can we like take this idea and then celebrate it and like make it fun? Like, how can we like coolify like not political, but just like human issues?
Well, sure, yeah. And but it is political too. I mean, I think all music is political in some ways.
Definitely.
Like you can't separate it, because I mean, the best music is the music that actually reflects who the artist is, right?
Sure, yeah.
And we're all, everyone has opinions and stances, and it's...
Even if your opinion is I don't have an opinion, it's
sure,
like, that's your opinion.
Yeah, that's a choice too, right?
Yeah.
That to me, those are like the most infuriating people.
Yeah, man.
Like,
I mean, it can be very difficult.
If you're choosing not to participate, you're not helping anyone.
Yeah. I mean, because we all participate in this thing of life. We like co-create consciousness and reality together. It takes a village. To take it back, we were talking about the early days, like back in Detroit. You grew up playing these instruments. Mm-hmm. Was your family musical at all, or no? So my mom used to park me in front of the TV and put Fantasia on, and that was it. I was too young to even really have very strong memories about it, and she'd play it over and over and over again. Go run errands, play Fantasia, and she'd be back in an hour before the movie was over. It was like her hack. I was babysat by Fantasia.
She could put you on pause for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I love that movie. I thought it was so amazing and imaginative. And I feel like that's kind of what did it, on some kind of like nature versus nurture. That was like the nurture side of things.
Right.
But yeah, nobody in my family like does music. My dad was like, he played like trumpet in high school, like a little bit, but like that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know where it comes from, man, but
it sounds like,
Fantasia.
at least, you were talking about at 14, you're already thinking about, Aphex Twin and sort of like high level music. So I'm imagining you kind of jumped in head first at a certain point.
I got introduced to like documentaries about philosophy. It was called IDM, Intelligent Dance Music. And which was then also like another branch of like drum and bass.
Yeah, breakcore and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then pop, like all at the same time. And it was just like, I was like, wow, cool. Like documentaries and this kind of music on weed is like the dopest thing ever. And it was like, I was so impressionable and young at that point. I was like, that just like, my life was going in a certain direction and just completely new direction. And I always loved music, but I never like, I didn't like, consider myself like a composer.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, I would sit, my mom says, she's like, you would sit in front of the piano and you just like play random piano stuff for hours. You just sit in front of it. And I remember sitting there and just like making a little like emotion, like just a little movie in my head and like playing piano, this random piano stuff, maybe like 5 or 6, just playing and playing and playing, and just like it'd be loud and then be soft and then be really fast, really slow. And I would kind of like score these like movies that I had in my head and just like play piano endlessly to them. And so my mom peeled me away for dinner. And maybe that was my early composing days, I guess you'd say. I mean, like nothing brilliant at all. It probably was horrible. I'm glad no recordings of that exist. Like pre-phone days.
Of course. Well, and then you got into production, it sounds like, pretty early on too.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
So it was all the same thing. It was my friend's older brother, and he gave us like...
He turned you on to everything?
Yeah, he ruined our lives. It was like...
Was he the one who got you smoking weed too?
Yeah, is that... Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go, man.
Yeah, it was
one person. Changed the whole course.
I'm saying, man. It was like... I think it was Big Loda by Square Pusher. What's the Drux by Aphex Twin?
Yeah.
And
huge record.
Drum and Bass for Papa by Plug.
Oh yeah, wow.
Were like the 3 records.
I forgot about that record, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and like that, I don't think Plug is necessarily like a really like popular thing. I'm pretty sure Plug is also Luke Vibert.
I think that's right, yeah. It was an alias.
And then all the Luke Vibert music was just like insane. Like I Love Acid and all that shit.
Yeah.
It's like weird. I mean, it was just...
Did you ever get into Venetian snares?
Yes. Man, Venetian snares, and he was another one, like, and that was like that thing, you just take like snares and
right.
Like you'd pitch like a snare roll, and I was like, no, like the last record that I listened to before that was Red Hot Chili Peppers, I'm like, it is a very different kind of thing,
Oh, yeah. Because I mean, some of their music, it was in bizarre time signatures. And the structures were just, it was barely a structure at all.
What about like the Flashbulb? Is that someone that you heard?
Yeah, I know Flashbulb, yeah.
Yeah, like Big Orange Love or something like that. Like, oh my gosh, it was just the most mind-expanding music.
Yeah.
And just like, it's just, and to me, it feels like this like classical composition is very classical-ish. It's just like the songs are like movements.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they'd be long, 10-minute songs that would just go all over the map. It's so funny because I listen back to that kind of music now and I still love it and I still appreciate it.
Sure.
But I think because it hit me kind of at a similar point to what you're talking about. Yeah. And I think it was at that point when your brain is still developing too, like really quickly, and all the neurons are firing at full capacity.
Yeah.
And hearing something like that, then I think it actually changed my brain. Whereas now I kind of, now I'm just old and dumb and I have to like just go back and try to figure out what this music is doing. Whereas before it just made sense,
that kind of like taught me like as like to be a producer and listen for certain things in music where it's
so detail oriented.
It sort of like doomed me into this thing where like now that I hear music, I like kind of don't hear it as like the song.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of parts.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's the bass line, there's like certain layers of a synth. Here's, you know, a percussion piece, and this is like a snare that's definitely 3 different snares on top of each other. And like, or there's a kick and a snare. Oh, that's the sub from the kick going into the snare, but not like the high end of the kick. You know, and like my brain is just like figuring it out all the time.
Yeah, and you can't
like,
stop it.
Fucking listening. And that's, you know, this is why I like hip hop so much, because I don't think I do that so much with like hip hop and rap music. I'm just like enjoying the vibe of a tune and just kind of listening to the story of it and like the feeling of the vocal. And I was introduced to hip hop in high school, and it was like as this also like so ignorantly how I found funk and soul music
Really?
was through hip hop music. And I was listening to a friend. He's like, yo, you'd really love A Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
And Jurassic 5. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm like a freshman in high school. I'm like 15 something, you know? And so I'm listening to this music. I'm like, damn, like Jurassic 5's got like a super sick guitar player, like awesome keys player, like whoever's playing bass.
All these guys are so good. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, they're like, oh, but it's like the producer. And I'm like, I don't even know these roles. You know, at this point, I'm like, who is a producer? And what is they make the beats? I'm like, I thought it was like a band, because like, that's what I knew.
Right.
And I was like, that is so cool that there's like the dude who like just makes the beats for like the MCs. And I was like, that's so sick. And I'm like, oh, they're like sampling. And then like Jay Dilla happened in my life. And I'm like, oh my God, like they're like taking these old records. They're like, who are these old records? The Meters, the James Brown,
sure,
you know, like, and the list goes on and on and on. Like, and
did it connect back to Motown for you? Just because
Absolutely.
You're in Detroit, I wonder if the vibe is different, you know?
The vibe is like just like who I am as a person, or it's just like being a Detroiter?
And the way this music got to you, you know, like, because I have to imagine there's a certain community in Detroit where that music means something different than it means to other people.
I think there's a sense of pride about it, and at the very like least, where it's like, yo, that's like the music of our city. Mm-hmm. You know, like you're like that's Motown.
Yeah,
you know. I didn't grow up in a household where like, I mean, my dad worked in the car industry, so like, you know, it felt like the Motor City in like Detroit, and like we spent a decent amount of time downtown in like Greektown, and like going to go see Tigers games and this, that, or the other.
Sure.
But you know, like I guess I wasn't so connected to Motown music in that sense, but I felt like really stoked that I was like, that's my city right there. Like in like the golden era of their sound, and like the people that lived here and like, or did records here, and now like visiting Motown Records, like the studio where they recorded all this stuff, and like, it's really, really cool, man. You know?
yeah. Looking back, I mean, I guess it's similar to discovering those samples back in the day, right?
Oh yeah, man.
And you realize how much history has gone up until that point, you know, to make that piece of art.
And that's where like that, you know, I don't know what it is about that music, you know, but
I mean, it's timeless, man. Yeah.
Something just does it to me, like big horn lines, like the fanfare of it, like the energy of like that like minor blues scale stuff, and just like this like cool like that to me has so much swagger to it.
Yeah.
You know? And like that was like the genesis of where the GRiZ thing happened. Is like really the whole thing happened with this song called Funky Fanfare that I sampled back for the song called The Future Is Now. Which is a Keith Mansfield record that, and I originally heard it first sampled by MF Doom for the song called Old School Rules on the Danger Doom record.
Yeah. I remember that record.
With like Talib Kweli's rapping on it. And like, that was like, I was like, that's my favorite thing I think I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And like that, so this record. And I was like, man, like electronic music doesn't really have like where the beat drops. There's like a horn line. I was like, that's not a thing at all. And I'm like, I really dig that like the most. And I'm like, and I play saxophone. I'm like, I could do this thing. I'm like, I'll be like, play like a sax drop in the song. What's going on?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And that's
there wasn't so much precedent for that back then, right?
I mean, the precedent didn't even exist for like anything. Everyone was just like,
true.
Just like, what can you do?
Right.
You know, and I think now where we've reached this point where it's like, now we all have shown each other what we're doing. Nobody is pushing this thing forward so much anymore.
I think about that all the time.
It's like, where is this thing going? We're all just kind of like trying to outdo each other's last best idea. Which I'm happy that at least there's like a competition factor to it because it like pushes the sound forward. And like, I mean, I'm not like happy for competition in the sense that like competition typically necessitates a loser.
Sure.
So I'm not, that's not the point. The point I'm trying to get at is that I'm just happy that there's like the consciousness push to like,
oh, absolutely.
You know, like grow the sound, I guess.
I mean, it's what we were saying earlier. We need that push wherever it comes from because otherwise we'll just sit comfortably.
Yeah, stagnation
and not
sucks.
evolve. Yeah, man.
Like I'm trying to like keep this shit moving, you know, I love the idea of like seeing stuff where I'm like really blown away and now for me personally, I'm trying to like, I've always been trying to outdo myself with what I'm doing production wise, songwriting wise, for the show wise. And this show that we have on our hands is another step in the right direction for what I'm trying to do. And I'm not even there yet, man. Like I already have the idea for like what's going to happen next and next and next.
Well, yeah. As much as you care to share, like what's sort of the final form version of this in your head, you know?
I think something that has been lacking in electronic music space is the just the performance aspect of it.
Yeah.
From the producer themselves, which I don't think is necessarily super necessary most of the time. But I think for myself, it is. Like I love being an entertainer. I love dancing. I'm not great at it. I love doing it though. You know,
absolutely, man.
And like if you're, you know, like seeing the show tonight is like I'm going to be like dancing like a goofy motherfucker like all night. You know, but I just love doing it so much. But like being a performer, like I see like pop acts and the way that they handle their live shows, and I'm like, I want to do that, but like within the scope of dance music,
right?
You know?
Flip it, make it your own.
Because like I see pop shows, and I'm like, the crowd is like dope and loving it, and people are screaming, but like I want to be like headbangers, like doing like a pop production, you know?
Right?
Like, how can we take the very flat video 2D looking thing where like a DJ is standing behind a DJ booth the entire thing? And then how do we keep elevating that? How do we keep elevating that? And the first thing I did, I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm standing behind this LED screen. I'm like 5 years ago, I'm like, I'm done doing that. Yeah. I dance around too much. I put too much energy into it. Let's remove that. So, okay, that was the first step. Now there's no DJ booth, LED screen. And now like that's like the standard. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't want it to be even standing behind the table anymore because I'm like sick of the table look.
Right.
So I'm like, we built these cubes and we wrapped them in LED and we put the computers in the cubes and the cubes moved. Because the big thing, I was like, I want to be on stage with nothing else on stage.
Right.
Just your boy, a sax, and a fly drop, and like some really insane visual behind it with some really cool laser moment kind of thing. We did that, and then the conflict there was that I didn't feel like I was interacting enough with the music.
Okay.
Like the tracks were playing, and I was mixing tunes, but everything was in this box, like literally in a fucking box.
In a box, yeah.
And I'm like, my life is a goddamn metaphor right now. Like I'm so in the box. I'm like, all right, enough with the boxes. And so for this tour, it was like I set up a custom MIDI mappable program that is sort of like a lemur, or like it's just like a touchable interface. It's called Touch OSC.
Oh yeah,
where I've been able to completely custom MIDI map this controller and make a MIDI controller. Like I designed, I'm like, I want 6 buttons on this page. I want 2 faders on this page. I want to visually have a visual component of me interacting with the music how I want, so that the crowd can see, so that I can have fun doing it.
Yeah, man.
And have that as a performance piece. And I don't want a box. I want this, like, I want to be like, I'm the performer. I'm going to put on a goddamn show, and I'm going to put all of my energy into it. Like at the end of the show, I sit alone in a room for a good 10 minutes and just meditate because I just am so spent.
Right.
But that is a really like gratifying feeling.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know?
Well, and that's probably to calm it down at the end of the show after it's over. I think that's actually really smart, because I think most people would you'd meditate before the show when you're all full of nerves and anxiety, and then afterwards you're on that high and it's like, okay, party time. But I actually kind of like the idea of flipping it and taking that moment after the show to sort of recenter. And
it feels nice, man. Like, because you kind of come off stage with such a buzz that it's when you're, I guess to whoever's listening, I challenge you the next time that you're feeling like you're sober. Okay, I think that that's a requirement here. But say exercise, or you just got celebrated on, or like you just did something really amazing and you're feeling like very high on like that like pure life emotional experience. I challenge you to just sit with your feelings, close your eyes, and just feel and breathe and see what happens and see how you feel. Just check in. And it's a pretty blissful space.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds amazing, man. I got to try that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the next time something like, it could be even trauma.
Right.
I typically find in a very like emotionally distressing or like a powerful moment, like just sitting and being in tune with the way that you feel about your feelings and just like feeling that it's like, it's a very healing thing. It's like an open wound and just kind of like giving it the air it needs to sort of heal and grow over.
All of this makes a lot of sense and I love hearing it, but how did you come to this, as far as meditation and self-care and this self-awareness? I mean, I guess you said you were reading, philosophy from a young age, and like, how did you come to this? Were you always interested in these kinds of ideas?
There's this one particular movie when I was really young that was called Waking Life. It was like
that's a great movie.
So good, man. I always think about the holy moment and just like sitting down and like, that was like the first time I've ever heard of something like that, where it was like, here I am like 14, 15, and I'm watching this movie that's talking about breaking down a moment of appreciation so much to the point where you start crying because of just realizing how beautiful life is.
Right.
Even in like a plain normal thing. It's always just piqued my interest, and I don't know that I'm really good at many things, but I think one of the things I'm good at is just feeling. Maybe I'm not like skilled at it, but I feel a lot, and I want to explore that.
Yeah.
And I've been exploring that more intentionally over the past few years.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you're also interested in helping other people get to that point.
Sure, man. I mean, and I feel that comes from like, I feel like I am so lucky to have the friends that I do and the experience that I've had with people. And I feel goddamn lucky, man.
Yeah.
Like real big time. And I don't think it's a requirement that everybody has to do these things, because I don't think that I'm right. I really don't. And I'm just on my own journey of whatever it is.
Right.
I would just, I just have this group of people that dig what I do.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to offer those people the similar experiences that I've had, and to be able to share those experiences with people, because not everybody has the chance to watch Waking Life at 14 and smoke pot. Like some
Right.
people don't find it at that age, or never find it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I spent before now, I spent a lot of my time going through my own consciousness by means of like psychedelic experiences, like doing tons of LSD, mushrooms, and smoking DMT and all that, And one of the things was like, for my group of friends back in high school, was like, it was really cool to think deeply about life and be introspective.
Yeah.
We were really involved with that. And the other means was like, how far down the rabbit hole does this psychedelic experience go? Like, if I take 2 more hits, what happens? Like how much more am I going to hallucinate or whatever,
Yeah.
And I found that I haven't found any more clarity in my life than being sober, doing meditation. And it's like, that astral planing kind of like vibe, maybe it's not like an out of body experience as much as it is like, but when I can appreciate just the space that is being held in a room, like the nothing, when I can appreciate that, I don't think that my heart has ever been filled with more joy than just loving everything exactly how it is.
Well, and that brings us back to being in the moment, right? And this whole idea that you were talking about with the album and all of that, of impermanence and just sort of being present. And I like that, man. I mean, it's almost like, thinking about the psychedelics and the experimentation and what you've learned, it's almost like you can kind of report back to everyone from the other side.
That's right, yeah.
This is what I found. That's what's over there. And I just like that you're open with it, man. And I think it's valuable in this community of dance music too, which has roots in sort of outsider culture, minority culture, but has now, become a mainstream culture, right?
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, the same way anything that gets appropriated and turned into a mainstream thing, it loses a lot of that, right? And
it can, yeah.
Yeah, it's a danger. And I like it when people, I guess what I'm trying to say is I like that when people sort of make the harder decisions, as opposed to, I think a lot of people got into this music game, especially electronic music, in the last 10 years because it was blowing up, right? It was the hot thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think it's easy to sort of forget where it comes from and that it's not just for us, it's for everybody, right?
I'm always looking at things like, where is your intention? Where's my personal intention with doing a thing? And as soon as anything becomes about money, it becomes so uncool so fast.
100%.
If I'm just trying to do something to make a bunch of cash, like the experience is going to be so diluted because my soul does not thrive on financial gain.
Yeah. Well, and you were giving away your music for kind of forever, right?
Yeah. And you can still get all this music for free.
Yeah.
I don't want people to buy my music. My management will probably they support all my decisions and I love them very much for that. But I mean, I don't think that anybody in my business camp is like, yo, please promote this one specific aspect of the thing.
Yeah.
But I used to sell pot, right? And I used to sell drugs to make money. And it was always like, you want to make sure that you're the person that they're getting the shit from. And I'm like, I don't care how you get it. Just make sure that you're getting it from me. I want to be able to give everybody this experience for free. I want everybody to be able to have it because I know they're going to come back for more because I know it's a good product.
Yeah.
I put everything into it and I know it's going to relate with somebody. So if I can increase the access to it, my chances of having more fans goes through the roof, right? On a business side of things, on a philosophical side of things, I find it kind of shallow to sell emotions to people. I'm not trying to propagate that kind of a vibe. I don't want to sell people on FOMO. I really don't. I this experience for everybody and everybody deserves a chance to get it.
Yeah.
And to be within that scope. If you're 12, 18, somewhere in there, you didn't get a credit card to your name, you want a record, you can just get it. Go ahead, download it, throw in an email and you can have this music on your laptop for free.
Yeah.
And you can DJ it, do whatever you want with it. I really don't mind, just pass it around and I don't know, man. I think the whole money thing and trying to get more rich, it has only ever created more problems than it's solved. And
well, again, it's we were talking about the American dream and trying to create happiness. It's the same thing with money. I think if you're doing all the right stuff and living a good life, and maybe this is a privileged thing to say, I should acknowledge that.
For sure.
Oftentimes if you're able to block out money, if you have the privilege of not worrying about it for a second, then that will sort of come to you if you're, doing the things you should be doing anyway.
Absolutely, man. Life is set up in a very peculiar way.
Yeah.
It's very man, things are based on your socioeconomic situation, it's gonna kind of put you into a certain place. There's just no avoiding it. I mean, that creates identity and that creates your basic needs for what you want and need in your life. I think at the start of all this, the intention was always I love music.
Yeah,
I love making music. It helps me cope with life, and I want to celebrate that with people. And I want to keep coming back to that as this is my intention, my motivation is to grow my craft and to spread an honest message of the human spirit.
Again, we're back to intention. I love that we keep sort of circling back to these ideas because to me, that's something I've always felt strongly from your music, not really knowing you as a person, but I always felt like you could feel that intention and sort of that sincerity. I would even liken it to, and you can tell me if this is a reach, but when you publicly came out a couple of years ago. And that to me, it was amazing. I loved what you wrote. I thought it was really powerful. I thought it was important as far as representing, an underrepresented culture in this, especially in this scene, which can feel so, heteronormative and just weird and macho. I don't know, all of that. But my whole point in saying that is that just happened. You put that statement out there, and it wasn't followed up by, and here's my new record, and or here's this other thing. Now I want you to pay attention to me. Yeah. Like you just put it out there.
We had a great I was feeling like for a long time I was like, I definitely want to share this bit of my life with people because I feel like it's important.
Yeah.
And like in the op-ed, the point is just like I don't feel like I saw myself in culture represented ever. There wasn't like the guy who played sports that was gay that also made music.
Right.
And then more specifically, it was like saxophone player, blah, blah, fucking whatever.
Yeah.
But to make a point, I didn't see myself outside of being like a joke on a TV show or, whoever's written in that, right? So, so I was like, I want to share this. I feel like it's important. I feel like I can relate to more people. And I feel like, and I see this at like our meet and greets and I see it all over Twitter and we endless emails that keep coming in about kids are like, thank you because I get that so much. I get that. Like, I feel like I'm alone in this. Like, there's one gay kid in my high school. Yeah. Out of the 500 people that graduated from my class, there's one openly gay kid. And I'm like, I know for a fact that there are more than just one. Yeah. I know for a fact because I am at least one of them.
Yeah, right.
And also the other boys that I kissed, and, of
course,
last year. But you know what I'm saying? But the timing thing was important because I didn't want to lead with that because I didn't want to be just known as the gay DJ.
Right.
I want people to be like, I liked what this kid has to say about himself that is outside of a sexual identity, which doesn't comprise exactly everything that I am, is a big piece of it.
Absolutely.
It's how it is a way that I express love sexually, but it's not like, I love human beings, right, I love people like that.
It has no bearing on the music and the art. I mean, clearly it has a bearing, but you know what I mean.
It doesn't
define the art that you make.
It's not gay art, but it's gay art. You know what I'm saying? It's created by a gay dude, and I was like, I just wanted to create an identity within the music outside of that.
Yeah.
And once I had enough of a home base setup with people where they felt. Yeah. Like this GRiZ thing is about these certain things. And I'm like, I can let this information out. And then we can start a new dialogue and add this on to the story, not have it be defined by this as the only story.
Yeah.
And it was just, man, I've been able to connect with such a large group of people from that, and it's so personally healing, like to be able to hear other people's stories and relate to them, it's
that connection again. Yeah,
man, is that I feel like there's so much more added value in life when I feel like I can be understood and connect with people and feel like I'm with somebody who can empathize with me and just have a conversation.
All
with
of us need to know we're not alone, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like that. I don't want to feel disconnected. I don't want to feel like I'm the only one going through something. I want to feel like together with people in this, because we are all we have sometimes.
Yeah.
And that is the most important thing, is just be nice to people, treat each other with kindness, treat each other with peace and respect. And just be nice.
100%, man.
That's all we need. We just need more niceness going around, Come on.
Yeah, 100%, man. I wanted to, one last note, when we were talking about sort of your evolution and where you see GRiZ as the project going and the future of it. It's interesting to me, I think the longer you stay in this game, you sort of see how everything's cyclical and everything comes back around. Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, as somebody who's been, really carrying the torch for this live performance, this hybrid, mixing of styles and sounds and even performance styles. Now I'm starting to see a lot of DJs start to try to do the live show as kind of their next evolution.
Yeah.
Some really well, some not so well.
Yeah.
And how do you feel, as far as seeing that evolution happen? Do you sort of feel like, finally, like people are getting what I've been saying, or is it more kind of like, this is like my thing, try something different?
Yeah, I've always kind of felt like super on the outside of this culture of like the electronic dance music.
Yeah, I mean, where do you even see yourself fitting in?
I don't know. I don't know, man. But there's a lot of people that love it, and that's cool. That's why I fit in with my people. I mean, we've always been like the act at festivals where they're like, you need changeover time, and we're like, yes.
A lot of it.
You're performing not on CDJs. We're like, yes, and it's been like that for a decade, like been doing this project for a long time. I mean, 2009 was at least a start.
Was that stressful, at least at the start, feeling like I don't fit into this?
I mean, dude, endlessly always like, and it's always felt like that. And in my younger years of this, I would be like a little bit more like combative about it. And I'd be like, yeah, man, like fuck this or fuck that. And like those emotions like never served me positively. I just don't want to be that kind of a person. Like the last thing I want to be is a hater, man. I just want to love things. And so like when I see other people in this space doing something that's similar to what I'm doing or whatever, one, I can't be so egotistical as thinking they're trying to copy me, because I'm like, that's not what that is.
Right, of course.
People are experimenting and going on their own journey, which I think is cool. I just don't think very much of it at all.
Yeah.
I just like I don't think the scene thinks about me that much either. So I just kind of mind my own business.
Fair enough,
I just like do my own thing, and like
you're just comfortable. Yeah, I mean, you've got your whole own world you've built for yourself, I guess, at this point.
I mean, tonight you're gonna hear like a 1:30 halftime trap dubstep tune mixed in alongside a 85 BPM mostly vocal with the horn drop and a gospel choir at the end of it, and it's gonna make sense. That makes no sense in any terms of anything, but for the GRiZ world, it makes sense because this project has been so gosh darn confusing since the start that it's just defined by things that I love. And I love so many different things. I'm having a really tough time pinning down the things that I enjoy most in music. So I was just going to do everything I can to experiment with whatever makes my heart move and makes me smile.
I mean, that's a great just summary of your sound, man. I love that. Yeah. That's like the elevator pitch for GRiZ. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else, anything we haven't talked about, anything you want to get out there, anything people should know about?
I think, man, the only thing that I ever urge people is just be nice to each other. Like, that's all I want. Like, I don't need, like, the promotion is so nice. And like, I just like come to the show, listen to the music, just be nice to people. That's it. If you leave with anything, just treat people with kindness. That's it.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Last question. I ask this at the end of every episode.
Okay.
You don't have to think about it too hard. Kind of the first thing that just pops into your head. Just a time in your life, and it could be from any time when you're a kid. It could be from yesterday, when in a moment, music really deeply affected you. And that's meant to be a really broad question, and your answer doesn't have to be significant, just kind of the first thing that pops into your head.
I was in my shower, and this is my like I don't have a problem with like liking like music that's cheesy.
Yeah.
I guess. I was in my shower. My mom only had like a very small collection of CDs. And Shania Twain was one of the CDs, and I loved rocking out to Man, I Feel Like a Woman in the Shower, and probably one of the reasons why I'm gay today. Yeah. So like it's her fault.
Thanks, Shania. Yeah.
Thanks, Shania. Appreciate it. Man, I do feel like a woman.
I mean, that song's a jam.
Yeah, that's my shit right there. Hey,
I love it, man. A good song is a good song. It doesn't even matter.
Yo, right? Man, absolutely.
100%. Well, this has been great, man. Thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Willy. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.
All right, that's the show. Shout out to GRiZ. So great to see you, man. So great to talk and catch up. Don't forget, the new album from GRiZ, Ride Waves, is out right now. And definitely go catch him at Bonnaroo, Red Rocks. If you're out in LA for Pride Month this week, he's going to be out there. And you know he is always on tour. I'm going to put a link in the description of this episode where you can go follow GRiZ, get all the music, the new album, the tour dates, everything. And don't forget, you can always hit me up as well. backtobackpod@gmail.com is the email address, or you can hit me up at Willy Joy or at backtobackpod on all social media. That's it for this week. I hope you liked that one. That was a lot of fun to do. Thanks for checking in. Hope everybody out there is doing well. Don't forget to take care of yourself this week. Relax, take some time for yourself, go do something fun, and I will talk to you next week. For Back to Back, this is Willy Joy. Peace.